Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting show. I got a distraction. This guy named Casper is next to me. He keeps talking. But anyway, we'll shut him up sometime. But welcome. We have a great guest. You can see right here, Ben Droz from Vote Hemp. We had a great Seattle Hemp Fest last week. John Cornett and Jan Sue Hurst are standing by in the wings, ready to play some music. So we'll buy a few crucial seconds as we bring on our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, folks, it's John. Go ahead, John. Okay. That's John Cornett and Jan Sue Hurst. Hey, it's good to see you back, Jan Sue. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Hey, Casper.
Happy Friday.
Good.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So, Ben, you are a hemp lobbyist, so to speak, and work for Vote Hemp. Tell us what Vote Hemp is.
Absolutely. So Vote Hemp is a single issue advocacy group based in Washington, D.C., and I have been working on the congressional level to push industrial hemp as an issue in Congress. And we also do work on the state level as well. We've been working with activists and legislators in so many different states. But my focus is really in Congress in Washington, D.C., where we've been working on the Industrial Hemp Farming Act, which in this Congress is H.R. 525. And that bill is sponsored by Congressman Thomas Massey, a Republican from Kentucky. And it's co-sponsored by, we now have 49 bipartisan co-sponsors. We've got Democrats, Republicans, we've got far guys to the left, far guys to the right, people in the middle. Here in Oregon, we've got support from the entire congressional delegation, except for Congressman Greg Walden.
But the only Republican.
The only
in our
Republican.
congressional delegation.
Exactly, and he, I've met with his office a number of times. They're almost there, but we've got strong support from, of course, Congressman Earl Blumenauer, who represents Portland, but also Suzanne Bonamici has really stepped up. Congressman Kurt Schrader has been a great ally. And so Peter DeFazio is another co-sponsor of the Industrial Hemp Farming Act. And on the Senate side, Senator Jeff Merkley and Senator Ron Wyden are both strong supporters of industrial hemp in the Senate.
Now, I saw today on the news, if it's correct, that the DEA has arrested 5 or 6 people who are wanting to be hemp farmers, and the DEA is still not signing off on states and allowing it to happen. How is this going to slow things down, or how are people going to overcome the DEA's insistence upon putting their heels in the sand?
Absolutely, and I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there, but I do know. That the DEA has been so difficult to work with over the past decade or more that we've been trying to get licensed farmers to get this DEA permit, which the DEA says is required. The good news is that in Kentucky, which is the real battleground, where the Agriculture Commissioner James Comer has made this a political issue, not just a farming issue, but saying, we really need to be able to do this. Senator Mitch McConnell supports hemp, the Republican leader in the Senate. So the DEA actually just last week came to a final agreement where they will allow hemp to be imported through the Department of Agriculture, through the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, so that they will be able to guarantee that they will be able to have seeds to plant hemp next season and for seasons to come.
So they got a crop in the ground this year, but it was a little late, right?
Exactly.
Because their seeds arrived so late.
Exactly. Well, actually, the DEA confiscated 286 pounds of viable hemp seed, and this was really...
And that was being imported by the Kentucky Department of Agriculture.
Exactly. And this was really the moment, the defining moment, when the DEA confiscated this hemp seed, and then the Kentucky Agriculture Commissioner, James Comer, took immediate action and actually filed a lawsuit against the DEA, suing the DEA, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Homeland Security and Border Patrol, who played a role in confiscating this, saying this is an unlawful seizure. And they ended up getting the seed back, and now
they had the support of the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Kentucky senator,
exactly,
and a number of other people in the Kentucky political delegation.
Exactly.
Well, I know there's a number of states that have industrial hemp but can't do anything with it because the DEA won't sign off on that. Now, how's that going to be changing there?
So it really, one of the things is that we are being very careful that hemp is regulated. We want to make sure that the farmers that apply for the permits have the blessing of all of the higher ups, all of the authority. And so one of the reasons why it's especially hard to get hemp now is because it's the first season. We do hope to smooth things over, but we will still be strict so that the industrial hemp is industrial hemp, and that the police officers that are tasked with doing the testing of these hemp fields, they're not overwhelmed.
So that means we'll be able to have it not just in Kentucky now, but in South Carolina, North Dakota, California, Oregon, places where we now have industrial hemp, but we've been waiting for the DEA to move.
Absolutely.
Good.
That is the goal, is to get this growing in all of the states. And here in Oregon, I'm actually, shout out to Courtney Moran, who's out in the audience. I know that she's been working with the Oregon Department of Agriculture to really get these permits so that we can grow hemp in Oregon, which is, Oregon has had hemp farming legal for several years now, but it's only now because of that amendment to the Farm Bill, which is Section 7606, now we can really take advantage of that.
There's a section in the Controlled Substances Act, which is Title 21 of the United States Code. It's Section 903 that says that the state law takes precedence to the federal law as long as there's no positive conflict. And obviously, there's no positive conflict in cultivating hemp. So the DEA really doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Exactly.
But they've been fighting this tooth and nail. You said for the past 10 years, since the Controlled Substances Act went in place in '72. But I've known of farmers trying to get, permits from the DEA. I remember at one point it was a $100 permit, and they raised the permit fee up to $2,000. That happened in the early '90s. But it's been going on a little bit longer than 10 years. But,
Yeah, well, one of the things here in Oregon is that they are threatening to charge $5,000 or more for a hemp application. And that would be to, to employ somebody within to essentially hire a new representative of the Department of Agriculture to oversee this whole program. So it definitely is costly, but it's a step-by-step project. And we are making great step-by-step. We're doing great with taking strides forward.
Now, with the crops that are coming in, have the farmers already figured out what direction these are going to be used? Are they going to be used for fibers? Are they going to be making fuel? Are they going to be creating plastics? Do they have businesses lined up to take the material and create jobs and products with it already?
That's a very good question, because the processing technology, we're at square one. We don't have the processing facilities. However, the seed oil, which is found in, these food products here, the seed and the seed oil, that is profitable, that is easy to process, and there's already a market for that here in Oregon. Like the hemp milk products, the hemp food products, those are flying off the shelves nationwide. So I think that is the fastest and most profitable way to take advantage of the hemp plant. And then the other thing I'm really excited about is hempcrete, hemp concrete, which is, again, easy to process. Coming up with cottonized hemp fiber, that is expensive. We don't have the machinery yet for that, the infrastructure, but hemp concrete, we can do that. But then there's a whole lot, once we really get into this, there's a lot of new potential. And that's something that's very exciting. But for starting off, I think that the seed and the seed oil, and then directly followed by the hemp concrete.
Because it would be horrible, I would think, to grow these wonderful acres of hemp and then have to export them into Canada in order for them to be turned into a product. I mean, the idea is to have jobs and products here, right?
Absolutely. No, and you know what? Because that's seed processing, that is easy. That is, as you can see, the hemp oil that Nativa wants to process it here. Nativa is based in Northern California, and Nature's Path is based in Washington State. Actually, one of the largest employers in Washington State is Nature's Path. I think that's really going to be easy to get into, and we'll be able to at least get our foot in the door in the growing hemp market, and hopefully we'll be able to get those manufacturing facilities for those products like fiber, paper, and other things up and running.
So we are taking viewers' phone calls tonight. If you have a question or comment for us, you can call us that number that just flashed on your screen there. It's 503-288-4442. We also have a little video clip with Ben here that we are going to run, and we'll be back to take your phone calls and questions and continue the show in just a moment. Let's go ahead and run that video clip.
If you can get to my face.
I'm Ben Droz, and we're going lobbying. Hemp is an agricultural crop. It looks like corn if it's in a cornfield. It is a fiber and oilseed crop that can be used for a diversity of products. You saw my briefcase earlier, that's also made with hemp fiber. Hemp seed is very high in protein, high in omega-3, and it also has uses as a body oil. It's used in cosmetic products. It's used in shampoo. I actually used hemp soap this morning. The challenge every day is just getting more people to hear about hemp. And my goal is really just to educate as many people on Capitol Hill and everywhere about hemp and about its benefits. We're talking about job creation. We're talking about agriculture and family farms. Even with the suit and tie, there's a hemp tie by the way, it's still hard to be taken seriously because hemp, the word hemp, just conjures images in people's heads immediately. When I'm talking with Congress members, I talk about everything but hemp. I talk about everything that hemp means, everything represents, everything that it will do to make America a better place. I don't like the connotation of a lobbyist. A, I'm not paid like any of those lobbyists, and B, I'm in it for a different reason than those lobbyists. It's not like I have a background in government relations or political science. I actually was very drawn to hemp and very passionate about it. Jerry McMurray, I'm gonna go in this office.
Okay, so what was that produced for? Looked like DC television or something.
Exactly. So, you know, I live in Washington, D.C., and there's a great community there of other people that have come to Washington, D.C. to make a difference, to get involved with the political process. A lot of really great staffers that are actually answering those phones when you call your congressperson. And then there's just a whole great community. And so when some of my friends found out that I was the hemp lobbyist, they said this has got to be the best job in DC ever. So they were actually for a website, they were writing about the best DC jobs, and so they did a little feature on me, and that really helped show people kind of what I do.
Now Howard Woodridge says he's also a DC lobbyist. Have you worked with him?
Absolutely. I see Howard in the Capitol all the time. You know, I see him in Longworth Cafeteria. That's where we get lunch and can meet some staffers and also use the computer Wi-Fi. So I'll see him there. I will see him, you know, when it's busy, when Congress is in session, I will see him all the time. I will see him every time I go to the Hill sometimes.
Which means how important it is for people to write. I've been telling my listeners for a long time that for every one letter the congressman or senator receives, they count that as almost 100 people who are paying attention to the topic.
You know, I think that it's, you know, I don't know the exact numbers, but taking action is so important. And when you make a phone call or when you send a letter, when you really take action, that really does make a difference.
And it is more important to do that than email.
Yes, the action alert system where you click on the link through on Facebook, you know, that is taking action, but picking up the phone, you know, it just takes 2 seconds to call. That's what really makes an impact.
And I was at Vote Hemp today, and I noticed that they have a listing of everybody's senator and congressman. Is that correct? And a way to get involved?
Absolutely, and I definitely want to send you to votehemp.com. That's where there's so many resources as far as learning about hemp, learning these talking points. And so you can also go to votehemp.com/takeaction, and that'll take you right to how you can take action. All you do is you type in your zip code and it will pull up your Congress people. It'll pull up your state representatives who you can call. It'll pull up your congressional House members as well as your senators. And so you can take action here in Oregon. We can thank our members for their support. And in other states, you can call and urge them to support hemp.
And it is
Speaking of calling in, we have a caller who's been standing by, at least one. So we got to cut you off. You're talking too much. But it's If you have a question or comment for us tonight, it's 503-288-4442, and we have a caller standing by. So welcome to the show, caller.
This is John. Hello.
Hi, John.
First of all, I want to say to your esteemed individual in the middle that it would be fantastic to be a lobbyist when 80% of the public agrees with you. That makes it easy. What's not easy for me is I would like to know how I could get a license in Oregon.
To grow industrial hemp?
No, not to grow. I have a host of health problems.
Oh, okay.
That are actually pretty bad. And I'm not saying I'm making any sort of trip anywhere for any reason whatsoever. All I'm saying is I would like to know how I would get a license in Oregon.
Do you live in Oregon?
I live in Iowa.
Okay. You have to come to Oregon, and you have to be examined by a doctor. Then the doctor has to fill out paperwork, and then you turn in an application to the state of Oregon with a $200 annual fee. And given that you have a qualifying condition, then you would get a medical marijuana permit that's good in the state of Oregon. And then there's reciprocity, where it also covers you in Michigan, Maine, Arizona, Rhode Island, and ironically, the District of Columbia, where Ben here is from, Washington, D.C. So your license would be good in those jurisdictions.
I know where it would be good. I'm just saying, how much money are we talking?
It's a $200 annual state fee.
But there's also a doctor's fee, correct?
Yeah. So it's anywhere from $100 to $150.
And if they go to your clinic, you can help pull all that together for them.
That's right. For more information on that, you can call that number on your screen there. It's 1-800-723-0188. If you leave a message, somebody will call you back tomorrow. So that's 1-800-723-0188.
Can I point out one fact?
Certainly.
In California, if you are part of the VA system, they will actually allow you to get a marijuana script. I just want you to know, if you're in the VA area in California, they will allow you to get a VA script.
Well, that's great. Yeah, the Veterans Administration about 2 years ago, lobbying from a past guest on the show, Michael Kravitz, has begun to recognize medical marijuana recommendations and not punish people on paying contracts for using medical marijuana. So that's a huge step forward. I myself am a disabled veteran. I know Casper's a veteran as well, so we know a lot of veterans. All right, well, thanks for your phone call. If you're out there and you have a question or comment about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, you can call us at that number that's now on your screen, 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. And we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I'm calling on regards of pain issues, chronic pain.
Uh-huh.
A good product to use.
You mean a cannabis product, obviously.
Yeah.
Taking cannabis orally usually controls pain better. The main compound that helps with pain is usually CBD. It's found throughout the plant. And so you can get relief with that, and it works better when you eat it. Works longer and is more effective for pain and many other conditions.
Right now, I take Oxycontin, my doctor prescribes, and I would like to get off of it if I could, but I don't know. Smoking it never did anything for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like Oxycontin. It will help you get off of Oxycontin. You know, I have some medicinal cannabis bottles here that are antiques, and they say they're to help people get off of opiates and other narcotics. So cannabis is, you know, that's often touted as or vilified as a gateway drug, when in fact it is more like an exit drug to help people get off much more serious and
All
addictions.
this product
So
that you're showing on TV, get at the dispensary.
say that again, please.
All the products that you're showing on TV, get at the dispensary.
No, these are antique products right here. You can't get these at dispensaries. These are antique containers that are, in most cases, over 100 years old. And so this is just illustration of how the cannabis was used in many medicines for a long time, going back to prehistoric times.
Yeah.
Prehistoric times.
All right, well, I'll have to try it.
All right, well, best of luck to you.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thanks for calling. Again, if you have a question for us tonight, call us at 503-288-4442. So, Ben, how did you get into being a hemp advocate? How did you come to vote hemp?
Absolutely. When I was young, I used to make hemp bracelets, and I actually now make hemp bolo ties as well. So, it really started off as just something that I wanted to do as a craftsman, and then the road into it really was a process of reading, learning, going to the library. This was before the internet, so I was reading books and. I just kind of got more and more into it. And then when I was in college, I had to get an internship. I wanted a hemp internship. So I sent applications to all of the hemp companies and all of the organizations. Vote Hemp needed somebody in Washington, D.C. So I interned with them for a summer. And then when I graduated, I've been working with them ever since.
I see. And tell us about Vote Hemp. When did it start? What's the structure of the organization?
Sure. So Vote Hemp was founded actually during in the early 2000s, whenever the DEA declared a zero tolerance interpretation of the Controlled Substances Act and declared that 0%, 0.0% THC would be allowed, which means that even these common food products, which have trace amounts, they had a zero tolerance policy. So the Hemp Industries Association, which is one of the sister organizations of Vote Hemp, the HIA came together, sued the DEA, and in that process, which was a several-year lawsuit, which the Hemp Industries Association ultimately won, and that's why we have hemp food products. That was the forming of of Vote Hemp, and then it was shortly after that that Vote Hemp introduced the Industrial Hemp Farming Act for the first time, and then we've been really working ever since. And the organizational structure is, I'm based here in DC, but a lot of our work is also through the Hemp Industries Association. There's now a number of chapters throughout the country. There's an Indiana chapter, there's a Kentucky chapter, there's a Washington chapter, and we want to get an Oregon chapter, we want to get a California chapter, we want to get some more chapters going so we can really have a
full book?
Yeah.
All right. We have another caller standing by, and actually several of them. So welcome to the show, caller.
Just me?
It's you.
Hey, Paul, this is Michael Henning calling from
Hi,
Dallas,
Michael.
Texas. How's it going?
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hello, Casper. How's it going?
Fine, thank you. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to give you some updates real quick. First of all, in memory of our beloved friend and fellow warrior, Gatewood Galbraith, they're going to be having a hemp fest in Kentucky. And they're going to call it in memory of Gatewood Galbraith, Gatewoodstock.
Nice.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, maybe we could do a simulcast or something because it'll be on it starts on the 26th. I believe it's 26th, 27th, 28th, and that hits it is 26th, 27th, 28th, and I think that hits a Friday night. So that'd be kind of cool to do something linked up with you guys, and maybe.
So that's the 26th, 27th of September or August?
September.
Okay. So we have our Hemp Stock Festival on the 27th and 28th.
Well, we're in sync.
So there's a little bit of overlap there, but that's okay.
Yeah, maybe we could say hello, via Skype or something on the air. Something to work with. That was the other thing I was going to bring up is we've decided that one way to keep the film that I've worked on, Hempsters Plant Seed, keep it going, is to put updates in it. But more than anything, wherever there's a need for a hemp initiative, we found that the screening do great for a rallying point. And there's a new Gatewood film. Well, it's new to a lot of people, but it's been out for a while. It was just called Gatewood that Chris, it's hard for me to pronounce his last name. It's Ivanek or something like that. Anyway, he did a great piece, and we're going to show that as well. Maybe it's short enough. Maybe you could show it on your show sometime.
Yeah, we might do that. Gatewood's a good friend. Was a good friend of both Casper and myself.
What we were thinking is that in order to save travel money, and we worked this out at the next venue we're at. It's called the Sundown, and we did a trial run. It works pretty good. It's having people like you, Paul, and Casper, coming on after the screening for Q&A via Skype. Mm-hmm. So we could announce, Paul Stanford will be here, and whoever else we can pull in, and then you see the audience, and they'll see you, and it can be just like a time warp. You can be right there with us at the end of the screening and do
the
Q&A.
magic technology. You've got a little silver pin there you're throwing in there. So have you heard of his movie, Hipsters Plant the Seed? You've seen that one?
Definitely, yep. I've seen that. Great. It's a great film, and it's great that there's so many people doing this, and that's a great film. Yeah.
So we're just using it
you're
as
the
a
director of that?
point now, just to get people to come and talk about it. And of all states, Texas has zero initiative. They're trying to make something happen in Austin, but a real push is inevitable when you get somebody like Governor Perry saying, "Wait a minute, guys, we need to rethink this." I mean, I don't know. I guess there's enough revenue coming in Colorado where he's just like can't deny that it would change things drastically here. So
well, he was just booked in jail for some corruption charge this week, wasn't he? You're in Texas, right? In Dallas.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah, he's up for something. Abuse of power, I think, is what they're calling it.
Okay.
I think where the abuse of power is if there's anybody still in prison for breaking marijuana laws back when it was more illegal, because what's the point? You probably know something about that, Paul. Are there still people incarcerated for past crimes that now should be let out, maybe in Colorado and states where it's legal?
Yes, there are. They weren't licensed at the time. There was no provision for pardoning those people, so there are still people incarcerated. I know Washington State dropped a lot of charges for people for minor possession, but in Washington State they can only have an ounce. Once they have more than an ounce, say just a tiny bit more, then that's a misdemeanor. They have to spend at least 1 day in jail, and once they have over 40 grams, which is less than an ounce and a half, then they have to that's a felony, and they can go to prison for that. So the law isn't very good in Washington. Colorado's is a little bit better. It allows people to grow their own. Washington's does not allow people to grow their own. Colorado's also been working on an industrial hemp base, and a number of people there are planting it.
And as Jack Harris said, the war will not be over until all of our POWs have come home. So it is something to focus on. And I do encourage people to write letters to those who are behind bars for the use of marijuana.
It would be great to get a list, a running list of people that would, names and where they are, so that they could be notified or, recognized, weekly or bi-weekly on your show, and people be aware of who they are. There's so much in the positive that's happening. It seems like those, whatever their infraction was, could be, we're living in the past if you're still holding people behind bars.
Well, there are a lot of people in there, in the federal prison for life without the possibility of parole. At least 25 people, perhaps significantly more. But I want to thank you for calling in, Michael. Michael's the producer of the hemp film out there. It's called Hipsters Plant the Seed.
Well, you'll get a call in if you say producer. But, the other thing that's really important to know is in Colorado there's finally a what do you call it? It's called not an incubator. It's called an accelerator. It's a business term used for any cannabis business that wants to get started. There's a group out there in Colorado called Skywalker, and if you have any cannabis business idea, they're there to kickstart your idea and get you going. They usually start you off with about $18,000 to get your.
There's a number of those angel investor networks out there. They're all trying to cash in on the changing status of cannabis. Time will tell. For during the dot-com bust, for every Amazon.com, there were a couple thousand Pets.com and things like that never went anywhere. But
Well, the good thing is their money where their mouth is, and I didn't even know
At least
the term
there's that.
before, but an incubator or an accelerator is designed to get you to understand how to. They do like about a 3 to 6 month run with you with mentors and specialists in the field, and it's the only cannabis accelerator in the country right now. So, if anybody wants to focus in on that, I'm sure they'd like to hear from you. I threw mine in the mix.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Thanks for calling in.
Talking to you. We'll be in
Michael
touch, and
Henning
we'll
down
call
in
you on
Dallas,
those dates.
Texas. We have another caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller. Not that line. Not that one.
Well, I've got a question, Paul. Are you going to tremble in your boots and run for your hills? Because Kevin Sabat's going to be bringing his sideshow and all of his money to the state of Oregon to convince everybody in this state that marijuana is evil, and we're going to go to hell if we smoke it, which I think Dick Cheney will break my fall if I go to hell.
It's strange that, every time there's an initiative to change the marijuana laws, the federal government sends out, using our tax dollars, people to oppose the political process. Now, that is technically against the law. It's called the Hatch Act at the federal level that prohibits the use of federal funds and federal employees to oppose political candidates and issues. But, what they ruled many years ago, back during the Reagan administration, that opposing marijuana legalization isn't a political issue. It's a law enforcement issue.
Oh,
so,
my. Even though it's on a political ballot this year, right?
Even when it's on a political ballot.
Gotcha.
Let's see. I think we have another phone call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Lorna Lyons, and I'm here in Portland. And I wanted to ask, to ask you guys all, but particularly, I think, Ben, because he's visiting, to talk about how the ballots, like right now, we're going to have the ballot to make cannabis legal in November. And I sort of had two pieces to the question, which is how much is that going to influence the DOD changing its point of view? Are there other states that are also going to have ballot measures this fall? And does the cannabis, our Oregon cannabis law, will that change our ability to grow hemp?
Do you know about that, Ben? I know I do.
You can start if you want to.
Okay, I can tell you that there is a clause in the Measure 91, which I urge you to vote yes on, that will make it easier for farmers to get licenses to grow industrial hemp. So that is in there. And the other states that are voting on it are Alaska is going to vote the same day Oregon does, as is Ben's home district. I couldn't say state, but the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. will also vote. And then in the state of Florida, they're going to vote on medical marijuana and whether to allow medical marijuana. Florida being, I think, the 4th largest state in terms of population. That's a very significant vote for the medical marijuana movement.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can I ask whether you guys, I have not heard what the polls are around the likelihood of the cannabis ballot passing in Oregon.
Measure 91. A recent poll said that 51% of likely voters in the state of Oregon are going to vote yes on Measure 91, with only, I think it was 42% saying they will oppose it. And so that leaves, a good 8-9% there that are undecided.
Right. Okay. And so again, this issue of if this continues to roll out in other states where the cannabis is legal, what kind of impact is that going to have on what we're trying to do to legalize hemp, so that we can get that hempcrete out there?
Well, I think it can only hurt. Once we only help. Let me get that straight. I think that when we remove the artificial barriers imposed by marijuana prohibition, that hemp can return to its rightful place in our economy. As long as we have to go out and test the farms and make sure they're less than 0.2% THC, there's going to be these artificial economic barriers to entry. We need to make marijuana cheap and plentiful, and when we do that, when we remove that barrier to the full implementation of hemp for fuel, fiber, and food, then I believe hemp will thrive. You know, we need to be cultivating hemp not with regard to what its THC content is, but with regard to its productivity in terms of seed content. And so industrial hemp right now,
hemp
when
is grown for a completely different reason. Yeah, at which we know we're the converted. But I guess it just seems very odd to me that we have to wait for something that, you know, is considered illegal to get legalized rather than just being able to move them on hemp.
Well, you know, marijuana prohibition was never about drugs. Drugs are simply a smokescreen. Marijuana prohibition was always about fuel and fiber, mainly fuel. Oh, really? The petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, crony, capitalist ruling class created the marijuana myth to prohibit hemp. And so it worked pretty well. If they tried to prohibit hemp and hadn't called it marijuana, they never could have done it. If they had tried to prohibit cannabis, they couldn't have done it. The medical community would have come up and opposed it. Instead, they said they had a deadly new drug called marijuana, using a Hispanic Mexican slang term from a Revolutionary War song in Mexico, to rename the oldest and most productive crop on the planet. And that worked. So never think that marijuana prohibition isn't closely tied to hemp being marginalized, because that's the whole reason we have it.
Yeah, okay. I guess my last question would be for Ben, would just be whether, because I don't know how long he's been being a lobbyist in D.C.,
How long
but
have you
I'm
been a
wondering
lobbyist
whether
in D.C.,
he's
Ben?
things begin to move in a better direction.
Yeah, so I've been a lobbyist. I guess it's now about 6 years now, so it's really been a while. To address your point about, you know, how is this happening where there's a possibility we could legalize marijuana before we legalize industrial hemp, kind of like what's already happening here in Oregon. And it's pretty interesting because how that's all playing out. It's definitely creating a perfect storm where we see the growing massive growth of the marijuana movement and support. That's also bipartisan. But the way that industrial hemp has really kind of pushed ahead, and with the Farm Bill amendment, which does define industrial hemp as containing 0.3% THC, you know, with that definition that just pulled ahead, it's definitely a perfect storm. We don't know what's going to happen next, if it's going to be marijuana or hemp, but certainly there's a lot happening, and it's not happening as fast as some people might want, but it's definitely happening, and it's happening pretty quickly. So, you know, next season, I do think we are going to get some hemp planted here in Oregon.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, well, then I'll sign off. Thanks very much for your efforts.
Thanks for your questions.
So Paul and I had an opportunity to know one of the very first hemp lobbyists, Jack Hare, who taught us all about paper, fiber, and fuel, and many times his book was sent to members of Congress and the members of the Senate in the last 20, 30 years. And I can tell you, any member of the Congress, the Senate, who tells Paul or Ben or I that they don't know about this, it's because they have chosen to remain blind to the truth.
Okay, we have another phone call standing by. Let's go ahead and take that caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yeah, I don't know whether anybody mentioned Rick Simpson has a $10 book out since 2013. If you just Google Rick Simpson Protocol, you can go to his 150-page book that's basically full of the testimonies and information about the THC oil. And he does deal with the difference between the THC oil from, of course, the indica plant rather than the CBD oil that would be more from the hemp plant. And he mentions, I mean, it's kind of comparison between Cadillac and Volkswagen, that if you really want to deal with an illness, that the even though it has more effects. The THC oil is the one to use. So I want to let people know that everybody should be reading this $10 e-book, and then I guess you could print it out if you want to underline it. The other thing I want to say is that anybody mentioned the OSU Corvallis e-campus, which stands for Extended Campus, has the industrial hemp class for 90 hours, and anybody that's age 65 or older who's an Oregonian can take it free online. And the next quarter is this fall. Has anybody mentioned that class yet?
Not during this show. We have had Andrea Herman on the show in the past who helps organize that class and the many speakers she brings in on it. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. I actually am one of the adjunct professors of that course, so I am one of the guest lecturers there. It's a great course. It is the course. As you said, senior citizens do get to get the course for free. Other people can pay. If you're a college student, you get college credits. Otherwise, you can audit the class. That way you don't have to write any papers or take any tests. Definitely, that's through Oregon State University. Andrea Herman, who has the Time for Hemp, she's on the Time for Hemp radio network with iHemp Radio. She is the lead professor. It's a great course, so definitely sign up for that. That's the OSU course on industrial hemp.
Is there anything else, any other question there? Okay, well, you know, we got a number of items up here. I'm just going to run through our standard show and tell or sharing. Right down here, we have this hemp twine. This is next week's wick. The wick is right here in this oil. This is 100%, we call it our hemp flame of freedom. It's hemp oil with a hemp wick demonstrating hemp energy. And so marijuana prohibition is really all about this. We have this on the show every week, Ben. You didn't know that? It's a little shot. Most people don't realize that hemp is the traditional illuminant used by mankind to light our lamps. And so you'll see hemp seed lamps going back again to prehistoric times. It wasn't whale oil that was the primary oil out there. It was hemp seed oil. You can take this oil, pour it right into any diesel engine without any conversion to the oil or to the engine, and turn the key and drive on it. And that's the reason that marijuana is illegal. Here's a bottle of food-grade oil. I bought this from a nutritional supplement company, but you can pick up a variety of hemp oils out there. But just to illustrate that it's now being considered a nutritional supplement for its content of omega-3, 9, 6, and the various products. So anyway, right here we have Nature's Path Sunny Hemp Bars. You said they're one of the largest employers in Washington State.
Yep. And actually, these granola bars, I give these to Capitol Hill staffers.
That's it, what you had in your little hemp briefcase there.
Exactly. And they love them. They taste delicious, but the fact that they're healthy, organic, GMO-free, gluten-free, it's a great product, and so staffers love them.
You know, here is some hemp seed, another product there, hemp hearts. This is hulled hemp seed. It's had the crunchy outer thing taken off, and here is a hemp protein powder, also from Nativa. Hemp makes a perfect protein powder. It's better than soy in that regard, though they say soy has more protein. A lot of that protein in soy is not digestible by humans, so hemp protein actually is more available to human digestive tract than soy protein. So you'll get more nutrition from hemp protein powder than soy protein
And you need
powder.
to mix it up. You can't be just eating all soy.
That's right. That's right. And then right here we have a 130-year-old medicine. This is a hemp cough blossom. It's still full. It's got the cork in the top here, and it comes in a nifty package with 13 different languages on it. It says, when buying Grabowski's medicine, always see that it bears this trademark. And it has just all kinds of different languages on this thing, and a little handout inside that that has that. It's alcohol, cannabis, indica, chloroform. I think that'll stop you from coughing, folks. Gotta be careful with that chloroform. Knock you out. Right next door we have this specific hemp medicine. This is a cannabis extract, and we have an unopened box of this same medicine. Lloyd Brothers pharmacist here that is cannabis. And there it is. You can see it between the bottles. Over here is a well-worn label on an Eli Lilly product. And then next to it, this is an embossed bottle. It was dug out, and it says Dr. H. James, Cannabis Indica, what is that product? It's from Philadelphia. Right next door to it, we have a couple of products from Portland's own NACA. NACA has this healing hemp salve. NACA has a little hemp story, Wonder Nac, over in Multnomah Village here in Portland. I recommend you go in there and see that. She is a great activist, has done a lot of art. And here is a hemp body butter. Then right next door, we'll have to back the camera angle out to see this nifty handmade backpack. This is a backpack that NACA makes as well. And it's 100% hemp, made by hand and sewing machine right here in River City, Portland, Oregon.
Right here in River City?
Yep. Indeed. So, Ben, we have about 6.5, 7 minutes left. So give a plug again for Vote Hemp and its website so our viewers know exactly where to go.
Absolutely. So Vote Hemp is, of course, the leading organization fighting for change in our nation's capital. And so I definitely want to plug them because we're actually having our annual conference and lobby day in Washington, D.C. on September 21st and 22nd. So if you're in town, definitely register for that conference. Also, Hemp History Week. If you don't know about Hemp History Week, you can go to hemphistoryweek.com. That's a really easy and one of the best ways to get involved. So we've had over 1,000 events nationwide last year, and certainly lots of events in Portland. And that's a way to take action. You know, there's one thing we really want you to call your congressperson and to engage them and to have that relationship with your legislator to urge them to support hemp. And I can, if we have 2 minutes, I can show you really quick how to do that. Should I do that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so you call on your phone 202-225-3121. That will take you to the Capitol switchboard. So if you call anytime Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. That is 202-225-3121. And that's the Capitol switchboard. Or if you go to votehemp.com, you can also type in your zip code and bring up all that information. But you just call, you say, hi, my name is Paul Stanford, and I'm a constituent. That's so important. You say, I'm a constituent, and I have an issue that's very important to me. So now you have their attention. Once you say that, you can call about any issue, but you want to call about industrial hemp farming. So you say, and I wanted to call to urge you to support industrial hemp farming, and it's important when you call your congressperson to know what bill number you are urging them to support. So you would say, I wanted to call and urge you to support HR 525, the Industrial Hemp Farming Act. And I would like a written response. By asking for a written response, you are assuring that they are doing their homework. They're going to look up the bill. They're going to ask the congressman his position, his or her position, and that way, that's how these Congress members take, actually co-sponsor a bill. Is when a constituent calls, and they ask them to support this specific bill. They have a specific ask, and we need you to pick up your phone and do that. So taking action is very important.
Amen. I appreciate that. Thanks for that little demonstration. We just have a couple minutes left here, but I'm going to try to take this last caller who's been standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Oh, hi. I was disconnected. I just want to say that today I filed a complaint alleging fraudulent-like activity by the Sheriff's Association and wording of a question on the survey. They tried to tell me 3 days ago a survey, and the question was, if you knew that adults driving under influence of marijuana were twice as likely to be in a motor vehicle accident, would you vote yes or no for the initiative? So this shows the kind of, slanted tactics that they're going to take. So the Secretary of State is looking into this, and I assume that everybody else should also complain about that if they get that survey.
All right. Well, good work. Thank you for trying to raise awareness about that. Thanks for calling in. So we have a little bit of hemp seed here. You want to give a plug for your radio network, Casper?
TimeForHemp.com global broadcasting network, heard on iHeartRadio. We have about 30 hosts broadcasting over 60 hours of original content about the need to end prohibition. We are broadcasting in French, Japanese, and Spanish, along with English, all around the world. And like a joint, we are best shared with friends. TimeForHemp.com. Go there, hit the donate button, and hit the play button and listen all day long. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Thank you, Casper. You know, we'll be back with another live show next week. We're going to go out with some more great music with Jansu Hurst and John Cornett. I want to thank you folks for watching. Check out our website at hemp.org, and we have lots of news at hemp.org/news. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp.
Well, he's a hit at the Hemp Fest rallies and a hit at the Hemp Stop too. Strutting with fudge and brownies, and he wants to share with you. He's the candy man, the sugar shaking, fudge baking, brownie baking son of a gun. He's the candy man, sugar shaking, fudge baking, brownie baking son of a gun.